Hey, this is Dan Littlewood, and this is my professional practice presentation. I am just going to dive right into it. This first section is the research and development of my pitch for a comic named Catnip. So I was going down a rabbit hole on YouTube, and I ended up on this channel that showed like the POV of a model train in a cat cafe in Japan. And someone in the comments mentioned how there aren't many cat kaijus. And that was what gave me the idea on what to pitch. I had this idea in my head of how humans could tame and like domesticate giant house cats the size of Godzilla. And I decided that this was what I wanted to pitch. So I then began researching what a possible cat tamer could look like. And I ended up getting inspiration from some of the trainers in Pokemon and Digimon. I really liked the overall look in particular, like of the overalls, and got inspiration by the massive goggles all the Digimon trainers had. This then influenced the design of the protagonist, which I named Jacob. I would have liked to iterate this design more, but I didn't have that much time and I really just wanted to get into the cat designs. Speaking of, allow me to yap about my own cat for a second. I decided to model the main cat like after my own cat Jeff. And I decided this because I already had a bunch of pictures of him. And also, he's a spoiled brat, and he would have loved to grow the size of a skyscraper if he could, because that's how he sees himself anyway. So using him as a base, I began to iterate possible like art styles to draw the cat kaijus in, but I got stuck because I particularly didn't like how they turned out. So I began researching cats in already existing media, and discovered that Junji Ito made a whole comic about his own cats, which I thought was kind of neat. But using what I researched, I settled on this main cat, which I decided to call Catnip, as I had already called this pitch the Catnip project in my head anyway. I would have liked to made an inked and colored drawing of this design, but I needed to work on the other parts of the pitch as I was running low on time. For the publishers, I had decided to pitch it to Boom Studios, which my tutor suggested I look into. They publish works in a wide range of art styles, and they had a couple of cat-related comics already, so I felt like this idea would have been a good fit. So after writing the plot summary for my pitch, I began thumbnailing the 3 comic pages. I stepped out of my comfort zone with the paneling because in my past projects I would have just used like singular panels for the pages. While this like approach is more open and features like one big panel in the background with a lot of little panels over it, which I had a lot of fun doing, and it's something I want to work on in future projects. For the finished page, I chose this particular one as I felt that it demonstrated the idea of the cat kaiju the best and showed like one wreaking havoc. I also had a lot of fun creating the cover. I felt like it really captured the lighthearted vibe. I just wanted to show my protagonist riding on Catnip and just being terrified, because I felt like that was what it'd feel like if you were riding a giant cat. It also features the logo I threw together in Photoshop. The font isn't mine, but I did add the paw prints myself. And I really liked how it turned out. Anyway, that wraps up the development of my pitch, and I really liked how everything turned out. I might expand on this concept in the future in my own free time. Okay, moving on. I'd figured I'd open this section with what I had struggled with over this past year first. So I had a really hard time juggling my uni work with my job. I would have to miss out trips during the first semester as they clash with my work schedule, and I did try and work around it. However, by visiting places on my own or going around drawing buildings in Leeds instead of York, but I still felt I was missing out. Next year, I think I will use more of my holidays to make sure I get work done and to like be more engaged with my course. I also really struggled with deadlines, and I found myself doing work until the very last minute as I underestimated how long certain pieces took, and I'd find myself behind my schedule a lot. I think I have learned my lesson in this, and I will definitely keep this in mind for my projects next year and allocate more time for each piece. In terms of grades, I found my technical skills were my weakest. I have realized this is something I'll need to spend more time on next year and to work on the feedback I get. That being said, this past year I found that I have experimented with my ideas way more and explored ideas outside my comfort zone, such as a Shakespeare brief where I was designing and drawing instruments, which I don't usually do. I also found myself attending classes in crits more than I did last year, and I realized that I am more productive when I'm actually in uni and using the studios or in the library than I am in my own room. This year, also, it finally sunk in that my drawings and sketches don't have to be perfect all the time, and that I'm allowed to make mistakes and to try again when something doesn't turn out how I like it. I learned that all artists are continuously improving, and that as long as I keep going at it, I will improve also. My areas to focus on in the future is to experiment more, such as with my paneling. I'm also going to continue building my fundamental skills, such as perspective and anatomy, to get my technical skills grade up, and to engage with my peers more, so I know what I'm good at and what to improve on when they give me feedback. My plans for the future in my practice is to start working on my webcomic again, as I feel like I have more experience on working comics from my work this past year. I also want to turn one of my past projects into an RPG maker game, as that has always been a personal goal of mine, and I have so many characters and worlds I want to expand further. A smaller goal is to also post on my art Instagram more. My focus for my final year is to try more dynamic paneling, as I enjoyed going out of my comfort zone in this project, and I want to build on that. I also want to experiment with colors, such as making a comic in grayscale. Another focus is to work on my anatomy by doing more life drawing and to make my poses look less stiff. My final goal is to overhaul my portfolio so I'm in a more comfortable position to look for work after I graduate. And that is the end of my reflective journal. I hope I didn't ramble too much. Thanks for listening.